Hey guys, how's it going, Companion? So some information on Tavern Brawl was data mined by Hearthstone. Hearthstone is a cursed site, and Cursed does a pretty good job of basically figuring out what's in a patch by doing data mining through differences in the current patch and the proposed patch. And they do this very regularly, and this is how they come up with content, but it's not really sectioned off very well. So what they have found is that there are a lot of cards being introduced in the next patch, which also introduces Tavern Brawl, but it doesn't really say directly that these cards are associated with Tavern Brawl, but I think it's very likely to assume that a lot of them are. It's just we don't know how many of them will actually be in each given week. The Tavern Brawl system was announced not too long ago, and just the very rough details have come forth that it'll be a free new play mode in Hearthstone, and in this play mode you make your own decks. Very, very different rules, and it seems like from what we've seen in the differential patch released from Hearthstone, that some of these differences are going to be the inclusions of very wild cards, and I wanted to go over that so maybe we can understand which direction Tavern Brawl is going and what we might expect to get from this new, very exciting play mode. I wanted to talk about this yesterday, but Ben Brode had a little bit of priority there. So let's hit it up. So the first few things that we saw was there's like the new heroes. And I don't know how these will be placed into Tavern Brawl, but maybe you just play as this hero every time rather than your chosen hero, or maybe you evolve into this on a certain turn, or maybe these guys have just triggers within the game when something happens. The possibilities of Hearthstone are really wild, and I feel it's really a field that has not been explored even close to its full potential. So we're starting to maybe see some of that with Tavern Brawl. You got Ragnaros, and Ragnaros has new hero power Molten Rage, where he summons Magma Ragers for 2 mana, which is about how much Magma Rager should probably cost, and still suck, by the way. But still, yes, okay, that's fine. And then they have a Nefarian in there, and Nefarian has Wild Magic, which adds a random spell from any class to your hand, and it costs 0 for 2 mana. I think the average spell is around like 3-ish mana. So, it'll be fun. It'll definitely be a lot of fun. One thing you guys will see is that a lot of these cards are ridiculously powerful, and it's obvious from that, I feel, that they are meant to be introduced in Tavern Brawl. And there's a lot of interesting repercussions from this that I'll talk about after we go through all the cards. We're going to go through the cards pretty quickly here because, again, it's not like we're comparing this card to an existing card. We're just mostly going off of amusement factor because these cards are really, really damn OP. So to start, we got Living Bomb. Living Bomb was part of the Blackrock Mountain set, as well as most of the cards that you'll see here will be like Blackrock Mountain-ish. Then you have Open the Gates, fill your board with 2/2 ups for 8 mana. I actually feel this guy actually kind of sucks. Yeah. Cards that have a high mana cost are not that good in Hearthstone. Now you know. 3 mana summons a random Tron. The Trons are probably the same ones in the Omnitron defense system encounter, part of the Blackrock Mountain expansion, and some of them are pretty powerful, some of them are, well, not really that powerful. There is a heroic version, and there is a non-heroic version, so it's difficult to say what kind of stats will be attributed to the ones summoned from this card, but the effects of the Trons should be similar and should be relatively exciting. We also have some bananas, starting with the Big Banana, which is a +2/+2 buff for 1, which is pretty cool. I kind of wish this not necessarily was a card on its own, but just, the small buffs in the game, they're pretty cool. I kind of wish there was a little bit more of them. Then we have Deviant Banana, which is basically like a spare part. Swap stuff. We have the banana that deals 1 damage. Not exactly a spare part, but often that's what the attack spare part ends up doing. Then we have Core Hound Puppies for 3 mana. You can get 2/4 Core Hound Pups. Now we start to see that these cards are getting a bit OP, especially considering the Core Hound Pup has an ability of their own. At the end of each turn, summon all Core Hound Pups that died this turn. So Yeah, if you have multiple of these guys out, so you get two off of the card, but if you somehow have four, if you have like Faceless, if you know, things can get pretty wild with this card as well as some of the rest here. We see a dragon here, 5 for a 4/6 battle card that summons 2/2/2 whelps. Obviously ridiculously powerful, but what is interesting is it has the dragon tag and is something that we'll see a little bit more of here in a second. And because there is more dragons, there's more creature types, this type of play mode enables Blizzard to get a lot of very critical information, so maybe they can avoid having to test, you know, what the game would feel like if there was more dragon for the dragon theme to be stronger in general as a result. And they can do this by, you know, just throwing in a bunch of dragons in 1 week of the brawls. You know, the brawls are only 1 week long. They don't have to be balanced. They don't have to be balanced at all. In fact, from the cards, even the few that we've seen already, they are not going to be balanced at all. And we'll talk more about that in a second. Then we have Lucifer, which is, you know, some cool World of Warcraft stuff. 4 for a 4/7, battlecry, cast corruption, all their minions. That is pretty nuts. I think if you want to combo this as Frost Nova, it'd be pretty damn fun. Then we have Atromitos, again a dragon, 4 for a 2/8, which is pretty good stats. When your opponent plays a card, you gain +2 attack, and cards count as basically anything, spells or creatures or weapons alike, they're all cards. So this guy's obviously pretty nuts. Then we have Core and Diabru, you know, more and more of the Blackrock bosses, I think almost all of them are represented in the card's datamined. 4 for a 4/8 and always wins brawls, and it gives you a brawl when you play him. So yeah, this is basically pretty fine 4-drop. Then we have Moira Bronzebeard, 3 for a 4/3 Death Rattle that summons Emperor Tharson, which is a 6-mana card. So this card is a little better than Emperor Tharson himself. Then we have Dragonoid Slayer, 6 for a 6/6 dragon. Also damages the minion next to whomever he attacks. So he's got like the cleave ability, kind of like Foe Reaper 9000, I think it is. That card hasn't seen too much play, but in Arena, sometimes he's pretty good. So it's pretty nice to see these type of mechanics in other cards. We also have Whirling Ash, which is a card that you get in the Nefarian fight in the Blackrock Mountain adventure, but in that adventure, those cards cost, I believe, 0. So this guy costs 2 mana. It's more of an actual card, but a 2 mana 4/5 Wind Fury is a little bit better than average. Then we have a 2 mana 6/6 Taunt, another one of the same, those type of cards. And then we have the third, the Sun and the Flame. Again, 3 mana. This is the best of those cards. It's a 6/3 with Battlecry that deals 6 damage, so pretty good stuff. Then we have Golemag, a 50 mana 20/20, costs 1 less for each damage your hero has taken, which is the Molten Giant effect. But the truth is that the Molten Giant effect is actually described very poorly. The real effect of the Molten Giant and now Golemag is that it costs 1 less for every point of damage your hero has below maximum. So if you're missing that much life, that's how much less it costs, not actually how much damage is taken, because you can take like 20 damage and then heal bot up twice and then take like 16 more damage, and Molten Giant doesn't really account for damage retaken. So the text is actually very poorly written. With Golemag, for him to actually be playable, yeah, you need to be down 40 life. So that seems pretty hard to do. This guy probably has to be played in some kind of Tavern Brawl where you just have a shitload of life, you play a hero that has a shitload of life, or maybe they fix that mechanic in some way. Then we have High Justice Grimstone. This is probably my favorite one. 3 mana for a 4/5 at the start of your turn, summons a legendary minion. So good stuff. And we have Veilastraz, 6 mana 7/7 dragon. Your cards cost 3 less, and that has no limiting factor. So if your deck is just 3 mana cards or less, and like, let's say Innervates, let's say you're playing Druid, you might just be able to play out your entire deck through severe draw mechanisms. Then we have Razer Gore, 6 mana for 12. This is, you know, something that's usually going to be a 9 mana dragon. He is a dragon, but he costs 6, and his ability at the start of your turn gives him his +3 attack. So pretty powerful stuff. Then we have Gar, 5 mana for 8 and then whenever this minion takes damage, you summon a 2/3 elemental with taunt, and there's a little guy. And then we have the cool-ass weapon, Sulphurous, which is 2 mana, 2/6, and Death Rattle, your hero power becomes deal 8 damage to a random enemy. Ragnaros' stuff. And all these cards have some really, really wild synergies that you can do with them. For instance, a Sulphurous weapon. The idea behind this weapon is that, it's a very powerful card. You swing a bunch of times, and later on in the game, you can use Ragnaros' ability. But for this particular week, if this card is part of the set and not many others, again, we don't know if, just a few of these cards will be introduced in any given week, or if Blizzard's going to pump out a ridiculous number of cards all the time. But, if this is just one of few, then in that week, weapon classes would be really good, because the death rattle of a weapon triggers when you overwrite the weapon. So if you played this with, Paladin, you can do, turn 2 Sulphurous Coin, Light's Justice or something, and then go to town with Ragnaros hero power right away. And that's much better than what other classes might be able to do to get the trigger off. So there's some really crazy stuff. In general, we'll have to see the numbers of these creatures and how they're rolled out, because if it's just a few, it's going to impact the game in one way. If it's a lot, it's going to impact the game in a different way. If you get a lot of cards, it's going to be wildly different. It's going to be completely reliant on those cards. If it's just a few cards, or maybe a medium number, 5 or 6 new of these superpower cards added in a particular Tavern Brawl week, things like Stall, again, the Novas, the freeze effects that mages have, are going to be really strong, as well as the draws, because, if you have 5 crazy powerful cards in your deck, drawing to them is going to more consistently win you games. So, yeah. It is really, really wild. There are also some cheats data mined. Apparently there's cards that just give you 100 armor, or 1 armor, or 5 armor, or destroy all secrets. It's a little bit rough, but usually in some way or another, these mechanics are involved in the actual game. I don't think this is nonsense or anything like that. Hearthstone does a pretty good job of actually figuring out what pieces are going to be part of a patch. So what we've seen is some really, really crazy stuff, and this kind of leads into what I've been saying for so long. Hearthstone right now in Ranked and Arena is a game where content gets released very slowly, and we've recently found out that is because they do a ridiculous amount of testing. They really want the game played a specific way, and for them to maintain that control over the game, they need to test things, to a crazy amount. And this is a problem. When you change things all the time, things are going to be slow. When things don't need to be balanced, you can just pump stuff out all the time. No balance means less testing. Less testing means more content and more card innovation. And I think this game mode will serve not only for just, craziness, the chaos, all that kind of stuff. People will really realize that, hopefully people will agree with me, that this is why Hearthstone is really cool, because the engine allows for this to happen. It allows for really wild stuff to happen, and playing different things, playing this kind of stuff all the time is just totally awesome. And Blizzard will be able to also use this type of game mode kind of as a testing grounds for, obviously this stuff is really out of balance, but they can see how effects are played, the general strength of an effect, if effects are favored, the counters to the effects. So while they might spend some time on a regular basis creating content for Tavern Brawl, I think the content they create for Tavern Brawl would then facilitate their ability to test the content for other expansions, other game modes, or whatever future content and cards they may have planned for us. So overall, this is basically one of the best things they could have come up with. You get the chaotic factor, you get complete creative freedom within Hearthstone, and really the people playing it are going to get so much out of that. The other thing to note is that Blizzard being, a billion-dollar business, they are going to try to profit off of this, and they did mention, and I did correct in my last video, that Tavern Brawl is going to be free. So, the idea is that they're probably going to make somewhat of an effort to make cards, that are purchasable through other means. So like maybe GVG cards, maybe like Blackrock Mountain cards, maybe like Nax cards, more useful. Just having generally more cards to make your Tavern Brawl decks is going to be somewhat relevant, because that is kind of how they're going to, make the monies out of this play mode. So yeah, I think they're going to do a pretty good job. I certainly hope so. I think even though, this game mode doesn't seem to be very rewarding within the game itself, I think it will be fun enough. I think it will be a positive enough feature, not only for the game, for the players playing it, but also on the development side. It'll facilitate so many things and move the game forward on a completely different level. Also, it makes it so, whenever they actually introduce new cards, whenever they actually introduce like new expansions, the cards are going to affect this play mode as well. So it's something I didn't really talk about that, and when I first started talking about Tavern Brawl, that whenever you have different ways where you can play the game, especially on a structured format like this one, whenever new content is released, so let's say they released like 5 cards, if you only had Arena and Play mode, in Arena the cards aren't affected that much. It's as if you released like 7 cards. But if you have Arena, Play mode, let's say you have Tavern Brawl, let's say you had like another one, you gain more from releasing the same amount of content. It acts kind of like a content multiplier, and it makes it so, there's much more stuff to do and explore within the game from the amount of effort put in from the company. So, yeah, I've talked about a lot of good things, and I really think this is one of those. Very excited about Tavern Brawl, and really the creativity of the devs and the engine of Hearthstone, the rule set that they have, will really be pushed and highlighted in the future because of this. So I'm very excited to play it. Hope you guys are too. Hope you guys enjoy my review, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.